Hello, I'm Cheyenne.
And I'm Frankie.
And this is Conbini
Conbini
Cult.
Cult.
Welcome to another episode today. How are you?
Well, it's November 7th, if that gives you any context.
Yeah, maybe we'll get into it in our life updates. But yeah, if you notice the vibe, the energy in here is a little somber. It's because
It's a little dark, it's a little cold.
It's a little dark, it's a little cold, and like Frankie said, it is November 7th. So if you keep up with politics or any news surrounding, the U.S. election, we'll get into that.
Yeah, that's where we are.
Yeah, that's kind of where we are today. So it's a very strange mood all around, I would say. Yeah, not between us. We're okay. I'm just talking about
we're fine. But
in general.
It is really chilly outside today.
Yeah,
so it's kind of fitting.
It actually is cold. It's like a cold.
This is the coldest day it's been in a while.
Yeah, and I'm wearing layers. It does finally feel like not even fall, really. It feels closer to winter, no? Or am I just,
kind of.
Yeah.
I took out the garbage this morning and I was like,
ooh,
it's so chilly.
I thought you were going to say, I took out the garbage, so that means it's winter. Like, you only take out the garbage every winter or something. You're like, I took out my once-a-year garbage every winter.
Let it ferment in the summer. And I'll take it out
took out my
in
winter garbage, so it's winter. It's like how people change their clocks for daylight savings. You take out your garbage to officially signal it's winter or something. But, so that's how we are. It's kind of chilly, so... Nice. Mm-hmm. Finally. I thought I'd never say that. But do you have any life updates? I mean, has anything exciting happened to you? No?
Not particularly.
Nothing exciting, but I guess we can jump into it.
Let's just get into today's topic.
Yeah.
What are we talking about today?
We're going to talk about the oversaturation of Japan content as well as overtourism and bad tourists, I guess. So... Before I get into that, not my life update, but kind of backtracking, a transition, if you will, into the topic of Japan content and stuff. So, like I said, it's the day after the results were announced for the U.S. election, right? Or is it announced officially, or is it basically Donald Trump won?
I think it is.
It's decided,
official.
right? It's official, right? Okay,
yeah.
So
and because Japan is. The time zone is ahead of the U.S., so we got it Wednesday evening.
Yeah. So I was watching it in the background at work all day, kind of on the edge of my seat. But so basically, that is the most recent news happening for us. We are from the U.S. and we're not going to talk about our personal political beliefs here. I don't think that's necessary. But after those results came in, did you receive a lot of texts or messages from friends and family back home about it?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay,
Not
so
yet.
I was getting them in live time from my family and stuff, and then I posted a quick story on Instagram, just kind of like a cringe face, ooh, okay, you guys watching, and I had a surprising amount of people respond to that, asking either joking or not. They were I wish I could live in Japan, or how can I live in Japan, or I'm moving to Japan right away. And obviously they're saying Japan because I live here and they're talking to me. Yeah. But it was a big amount of people who were asking how they can live here. So basically they want to not live in the US anymore, given the election results. But it kind of gave me a little not insight, but a reminder of that kind of falls in great with today's topic of oversaturation of Japan. Why do so many people want to live or come to Japan specifically?
Yeah, that's true.
They were very set on I'm gonna live in Japan because it's perfect. I got a lot of DMs saying that too. So
yeah, I hate it back home, so life would be better.
Yeah, and I sent some replies and stuff, but I also didn't feed into their idea that it was perfect here either. So that was just kind of an interesting relation, I guess, to what we're going to talk about today. But before we get into overtourism, nope. Not that.
Well, it's all related.
Yeah, I meant to say
oversaturation.
I meant to say before we get into oversaturation, let's get into overtourism. Sorry.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, okay,
So you know what I always have? A disclaimer.
Okay, yeah, let's get into it. Where is... Oh, here it is.
Yeah, I mean, the stuff that we're talking about today, like, we're not just shitting on tourists and other foreigners. Like, we're the better foreigners. Like, we have, I don't know, immersed ourselves in the culture here, so now we're better than you. It's just because we live here, and, like, these behaviors that we're going to talk about would be bad anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
We're just talking about the things going on in Japan because that's where we live.
Yep, and we've seen a lot of crazy stuff recently, so we just wanted to call them out and talk about them. Yeah. All right, so thank you for your disclaimer, as always.
Yeah, so, yeah. Just, but we're going to take a healthy poop.
Yeah, we're not going to shit on tourists. We're going to lightly defecate on them. So we're going to take a healthy poop, as Frankie says. Yeah, just calling out the bad behavior. That's all. And it's not, the examples we have are obviously specific to Japan. But yeah, just don't be like a bad tourist anywhere. Yeah. That applies for all places. Yeah, just don't be a weirdo. Like, be respectful. Okay, so the first one I wanted to get into, I saw from like Instagram. I follow an account that kind of just reposts things that are happening around Japan, whether it's like news or just like crazy videos and stuff. But have you seen, there was a lady recently doing yoga at Sensoji, like the temple in Asakusa in Tokyo.
Yeah, one of the most famous temples in Tokyo.
One of the most
famous.
Like the most famous and the most crowded.
That's true.
Yeah, so just to, I don't know if we'll put it here or not, but just to briefly describe the video, all I've seen...
Can I watch it? You sent me a screenshot, but I didn't actually watch the full thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, let me send it to you. I don't know if you're like logged into... Okay, so we're watching the video now, and the woman just approaches, she sees the main gate at Asakusa, and she's like, oh, cool. Takes off her shirt, and then just does... Do you know what that pose is called in yoga?
No. Do you know?
No, it's... But she's basically, like, not a handstand or a headstand, but she's, like, upside down. So she's balancing... upside down. Her hands are on the floor and her feet are up in the air. And she's doing that like right in front of the gates. And like, I'm sure in a photo that looks really cool, but also like, why are you doing this in the middle of the day is my concern. Only because, well, like one, yeah, maybe like don't do stuff like that. Because temples are like sacred places at the end of the day,
they are still religious places.
Yeah, they're still religious places. So like, we don't need to do that there. But also, it's the middle of the day and like the busiest time of the day, and she's just kind of taking up space. Not to say you're not allowed to take photos in front of that, because everyone takes a photo, but it's kind of like an assembly line. You've got to like quickly take it so you can make room and space for the next person. So she really took up a great amount of space to where people obviously felt bad. They didn't want to get in the photo behind her and stuff. Yeah. And so it's like causing traffic more so. I think like that was like my main concern. It's like,
that's true.
It's like a lot of time and space, but
and there was also right under the main, like that giant lantern.
Yeah. Which is like the main entrance to the place.
Yeah, that's what everybody wants a photo of.
Yeah, and either this one is like really new where I haven't seen a lot of like responses or backlash if there is any to it, but when maybe it wasn't like so big as the next story we're going to get into, but it wasn't big enough to where I found any like articles about, maybe Japanese people or like foreigners living in Japan's opinions about it. Like it was kind of a come and go thing. Although I did see on Instagram, obviously, there was a lot of comments that said, like, this is why Japan hates foreigners, and this is why Japan hates tourists. Close the borders, So, yeah, like, it did receive backlash for obvious reasons. But I did show this to my partner, and he was kind of like, wow, that lady's dumb. Like, he didn't have, like, a very big reaction to it, but obviously
he didn't say close the borders.
He didn't say close the borders, so I'm safe. I'm good. Yeah, we're good for now. But he was kind of like, baka da ne. Like, that was kind of dumb. But that was kind of it. That's all I could find. But yeah. Do you do yoga?
No.
Will you do yoga after this video?
No, I will not do yoga.
When will you do yoga? Have you done yoga? Okay. Maybe. All right, sorry. Moving on, so maybe to a little more controversial story. This one did get a lot of like traction.
Yeah, you've probably seen this one already.
Yeah, because it was on like regular TV news, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, really?
Or like at least more like YouTube, like net news channels. Like it wasn't just, only TikTok and personal responses from people. So this one, if you're familiar, a woman was recently facing a lot of backlash for doing pull-ups at a torii gate in Japan. So
yeah, torii, like literally using the torii gate.
The torii gate. So a torii gate is, if you've seen, in Japanese media and stuff, it's those red gates. Like what is the shape of it, would you say? Like the pi sign. It looks like a big T almost. Yeah.
There's two legs and then a thingy
at the top. So, I mean, they come in all different like heights and sizes too, but this one she was at, it was at a low enough height someone could jump and like hang on to that top bar, which she did. So turns out, I'm going to call out her name because everyone knows who she is at this point. Her name is Marimar Perez, and she's a Chilean gymnast. So I think she did it for like TikTok, like everyone does. It's probably some kind of like TikTok, pull-ups challenge or something. It was like kind of coordinated to music, like go up and down and stuff. And she did it, and like, yeah, she has a lot of upper body strength. I mean, she's a gymnast, but again, there's like different places to do that. But it got so much backlash and comments from like news outlets, foreigners living in Japan, and also a lot of Japanese people, to where she was forced to, I guess, at this point, make a public apology. So I think she posted a video on X, apologizing. And then she also wrote, I think in English or in Spanish, like an apology, a written apology. And then she wrote Japanese under that. So I don't know if she had someone like translate for her. Yeah. So
do you know
she apologized
if when that video like came out and she was getting all the backlash, had she already left Japan at that point, or was she still here?
That's a good question. I feel like she must have gone home. And like, I can't imagine things going, through the news so quickly while like you're still on vacation and then you're scrolling on TikTok, seeing people like react to it. Like,
better get out of here.
Yeah. I assume like she went home and then she got like a lot of backlash for it. Because it looks like her apology, when this happened, the apology came out like a little bit after that. So if we want to, I'm going to pull up the article just so I can kind of back up what I'm saying. So this happened around October of this year. So yeah, a Chilean woman has faced criticism for posting a video on Instagram showing her hanging from a torii shrine gate and doing pull-ups in sync with music during a visit to Japan. So of course she has deleted the post since then, and she posted an apology video saying she did not realize she was in a sacred place and acted without thinking. I'm going to believe the second half of that statement, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, actually. When you first came to Japan, or maybe let's just like think of someone, let's say if your parents ever visited Japan, someone who has no idea about Japan, and they visited a place like Asakusa or like a place that has torii gates, would you assume it's a religious place, or would you just kind of think like, oh, that's a pretty building? Because, like, she could, I guess, yeah, according to her, she didn't register it was, like, kind of an important place.
I think it's pretty obvious that it's important.
I think, when places are translated into English and stuff, like, it wasn't specific which torii shrine she was at, I don't think. But, for example, let's go back to Asakusa. It's called, like, Sensoji Temple. So it's pretty much like in the name. So I'm not sure like how much she did know or like, how much of that is true, but it is what it is. So yeah, she has a big Instagram following, and I think out of those followers, a lot of people kind of disagreed with those actions. So good on them, I guess. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, it did have a lot of criticism. And so anyway, do you know any Japanese people who saw that video and like had a reaction to it? I've only seen like foreigners reacting to it, surprisingly.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of Japanese people reacting to it. I'm trying to think if me and my partner talked about it.
Yeah.
Like, I imagine he would also just be like, oh, that's not good.
Well, your partner's also super kind and nice.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think he would say anything bad.
Like, maybe she didn't know. I don't know.
So I showed this video to my partner too, who is Japanese as well. And he basically said, like, I don't know why like people don't need to get that mad about it. He's like, yeah, like it was wrong, but like I don't understand why people are getting like super heated about it, which was like an interesting take. That wasn't something I expected like him to say. But he did have some other thoughts on like some other bad touristy behaviors that we'll get into. So it was kind of interesting to see like his personal opinions on what was kind of like deemed unacceptable behavior versus like, whatever, you know? But yeah, what I wanted to mention too, though, like I said, I haven't seen so many Japanese people reacting to it, like, you know, making stitches on TikTok or whatever. But of course, there were so many like foreigners in Japan coming to the rescue of saying like, this is like so bad, like you shouldn't do this, you know? So there's a lot of like, what do you call them? Like last samurais coming to the defense of Japan, you know?
Yeah,
based on this video.
Like, yeah, that's kind of the result of all these bad behaviors. It just keeps like pushing more of that attitude. And like anytime somebody does something wrong, even if it is an unintentional mistake, then it's immediately like, close the borders.
Yeah. Which sounds a little familiar from recent events in the US. But anyway, I did see one Japanese person react to it because he's just a big Japanese creator.
Yeah.
Do you know Matcha Samurai?
Yes.
Yeah. So he's a Japanese guy and he makes a lot of funny videos about, you know, just Japanese quirks and culture, or he like reacts to, you know, non-Japanese people's like videos and takes about Japan and kind of gives his opinion as a Japanese person. And so the video of this lady doing like pull-ups at the torii gate, it was a stitch of that he took. So like when it came to him, he was just doing push-ups like in a church. Like, of course, the church was like green screen in the background, but that was his response. He was just like doing push-ups and then he started laughing like he always does. And I thought, yeah, that's a good way to get your point across. Very little words. You just show like, like,
could you imagine somebody doing pull-ups on like a cross or something?
Yeah, that's what he should have done. Yeah, just like on a big cross in a Catholic church. But I think he really conveyed just like how silly it looks to be exercising at like places of religion or worship or whatever. But yeah, so I liked his response a lot, but yeah, that's all. I'm sure this story is a little older, like, so
last month.
You've probably, you know, heard about it. So that was kind of our take. Just wanted to bring it up. I'm going to get back to this guy in a second.
Sure.
But other than that, moving on to our next kind of wild tourist in Japan story. Okay. I think, did we talk about this one? It's going to be super quick. There was a lady who was sitting on the Hachiko.
The Hachiko statue?
Yeah.
Yeah, we might have mentioned it before.
Yeah, I found the TikTok of it.
Yeah, that was
like
last year?
A while back. Yeah. So I think the ones we did talk about last year were, she was people sitting on the dog, the Hachiko statue in Shibuya. And then there was also people like shaking the cherry blossom branches, right? To get aesthetic photos and stuff. Season. Yeah. So,
unfortunately.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure. So we'll skip that. But don't do that.
Don't climb on statues.
Anywhere. Yeah, anywhere really. Especially like the little Hachiko dog. Like, I can understand people being silly. I mean, don't do this, but like, you know, climbing on a statue of like a horse or something, like animals that are known to be ridden, you know, like horses, or what else do you ride? I was going to say cows, but that's not it.
There's a bull statue on Wall Street in New York.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm sure people climb that.
I'm sure people climb it, but doesn't everyone like touch its balls or something?
I don't know.
Come on.
I haven't
New
done
York. Yeah. Yes, apparently people touch the bull's balls in New York.
Is
it's
that
like
why
a money
I'm not rich?
thing. Yeah. So look what you did. You didn't touch the balls, and now we're no. But I think that's just like the stock market people thing.
Yeah.
It's like get rich or something. I don't know. But she's riding, like, you don't ride dogs anyway, so it's like, why are you on it?
Poor Hachiko.
Poor Hachiko. But anyway, yeah, that was a quick one. Another one I wanted to kind of bring up, which I wouldn't think to be super controversial, like, you know, doing pull-ups at a shrine and stuff, is sitting on the floor. Do you notice this a lot?
Yeah. Just sitting in
like in public
weird
spaces.
places.
Yeah.
Like I've seen I was at a shrine, I think somewhere in Wakayama before, but there was like a group of tourists like sitting right next to like the main shrine area, and it's
Like
also
the
a place.
entrance?
Yeah, it's also a place where a lot of people take pictures.
Oh,
But they,
okay.
they were all sitting.
They're just like sitting, chilling there. Yeah, so
Yeah, but I think it is more of a European thing, maybe an American thing too, but just to
just, like,
sit
sit?
anywhere.
yeah.
Like on the airport floor. Like,
Yeah, that's true. I think, like, again, American perspective, we don't really have,
there's
I don't
no
know.
boundaries to where you can sit.
Exactly. Especially places like, the street too, you know, like outside on the street. I guess people don't really care about, where you sit. And I feel like, so for example, if we're going to compare the two, Japanese culture and Western culture, Japan is very, you know, clean in the aspect of like when certain buildings you have to change into like house slippers, you know, you're not even allowed to use your outside shoes in a lot of places. And so if you carry that idea to, you know, the outdoors or public spaces, I'm sure a lot of Japanese people view like sitting on the ground, like with no sheet or no chair or whatever, that's like not super clean. I don't like, it's just like, what do you even call it? Like arienai, like you just something you don't do, you know, like no one thinks to do that versus
It wouldn't occur.
Yeah, versus us dirty Westerners. I don't know, like, I sit on the floor in the airport and stuff all the time in the US, you know, because like everyone it's like okay to do that. But I'm sure based on a lot of like Japan content, especially like travel content, we see a lot of people say, you know, like, here's things I wish I knew before coming to Japan. And it's always about like the amount of walking you do here. So I get it. If people like, you're tired, you walk a lot here in Japan, especially for, you know, when you're traveling around. So I get like,
and there's not really a lot of benches on the street.
So
unless you find a park.
I'm not saying it's like wrong to take a break. Like this video I have, it just, the people being recorded, they have a lot of shopping bags and they're in like a shopping mall. They're in an indoor place. So it's a little different, you know, because places like that are crowded, but it just looks like...
They usually do have seats, though.
But they're kind of like all just... There's a lot of them, too. It wasn't like one person. It was like a family or like a group of people, but maybe like 7 or 8 of them. And they're all just kind of like in a line, leaning against the wall and like sitting there. And they've got shopping bags and stuff, too. So just based on the, you know, the way they're sitting down and like the way they look, I'm sure they just looked... They were tired and they needed a break. And they had a lot of stuff they were carrying and... Maybe let's say one person in their group was like doing some shopping in a store and not all of them wanted to go inside. So it looked like they were just waiting outside was the situation that I grasped. And so me personally, I think I was like, I saw that and I was like, ooh, yeah, like we don't need to like sit and take up space like that. But I also like wouldn't think it was the end of the world.
Yeah.
You know? But I showed that video to my partner. And he said, like, unbelievable. I can't believe you're doing that. Like, he had, like, a huge reaction to that.
That's the one that's unbelievable.
Yeah, versus the person doing, like, pull-ups at the torii gates. So, so...
Interesting.
So I was like, wow, that's such an interesting take, you know? Like, I don't know if it's... Yeah, I have no idea, like, why, but maybe it's a space issue. Not even sure. But one thing I wanted to say about that, like, don't sit in a crowded place if it's like very obvious you're in a photo spot, like how Frankie said, or just in a walkway or in a place where like a lot of people are walking through. Like, it's gonna take space to like just sit there. But also like maybe it's situational. But what is the difference between like sitting somewhere, like your butt touching the floor, sitting somewhere, versus like a lot of Asian people will just squat somewhere to like take a rest. Is that okay? Do you know what I mean?
I think so, because your clothes are not touching the ground. And then you're not going to sit in places that other people are sitting and get that dirty.
But is the issue like the cleanliness thing of like, how dare you sit on the ground? Or is the issue like taking up space? Or like, I feel like this is just my assumption, my theory. Like, I feel like sitting down, it really shows like you are claiming this space. Like, I'm going to take a rest here and I'm going to sit down and I don't care like who is walking like through here, kind of almost. Versus like squatting, you're still on your feet. And so I feel like you're kind of prepared to like, oh, sorry, I'm in your way. And like run away. I don't know. Like, what is the difference?
That's
I wanted to think about that. Yeah. Because
I don't know. I think it's two separate issues.
Yeah, because
like, even if you had a bunch of people squatting, if it's in a place where a lot of people are walking, it's going to be annoying either way, whether they're sitting down on their butts or squatting.
That's true. I mean, when I'm talking about squatting too, usually I see a lot of like, you know, Japanese people, maybe they're like kind of drinking or they're smoking a cigarette or whatever, but they're squatting on like the side of the street or something. It's kind of, and I haven't seen any reactions about that or any like, that's rude to Japanese people, like Japanese to Japanese. Like, that's just not something you do. Haven't seen that. But, yeah, I have seen one time. I was in a train, not on a Tokyo or, like, busy city train, more so in the countryside, where the train wasn't even packed. There was still empty seats, but it was a group of 3, maybe junior high school or elementary school boys. And they were kind of standing close to the door, a group of, 3. But then one of them just sat down on the ground, like full on sat down, like cross-legged inside the train. Oh. And then there was like this oji-san, like a older grandpa gentleman who saw them, and he like, this is like straight up like one Showa, like old school behavior, and like also inaka, like countryside behavior. This old man who did not know these boys went up to them and kicked the boy like on the ground, not like knocked him out, but like a little like kick nudge, tap? Like, oi, omae, yeah. Oh. And he kind of like nudged him like, what the fuck sorry. He kind of like nudged him like, what are you doing? You know, like, why are you sitting on the ground? That's super rude. Like, get up. Like, like a random, citizen just saw that and was like, get up. So I can see how it's just instilled in you from.
How did that boy react to being kicked?
It was kind of sad because he's like,
did he cry?
You can tell he was like going to, but he couldn't or wouldn't because he's like with his friends. He's in public, So he was like, he was old enough not to like burst into tears, like, and he kind of knew what he did was wrong, but I think he was still too young to like be kicked like that, like, and so he was just, you could just tell he was super embarrassed. He did like a lot of bowing to the old man, and he was saying sorry a lot, but then after that he kind of just found a seat and sat like by himself and, kind of like was looking down and like really trying not to like make a reaction or anything. Yeah. So, it was kind of a sad thing to see, like as a bystander too. It's like, what do you do, in that moment at least? Yeah.
That's sad.
And
could have just told him.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, you literally could have just been like, hey, boya, like,
that's rude.
Yeah, it's rude. Like, stand up, but this old man like kicked him, and it was, again, like I said, like Showa, very Showa behavior. But anyway, would you like to move on?
Sure.
Okay, sorry. So moving on, have you heard of this one? So our next story, very recent, I think, is an 18-year-old American tourist was just caught setting a bunch of fires around Tokyo. Have you heard of this one?
No.
Yeah.
Why?
Why? I don't know. Let's get into it. So this one was super new to me too. I found it like today, this morning kind of. Oh. But this article from the Japan Times, I'm just going to bring it up really quick. It's from October 24th of this year. So that's about a week and a half ago or so. Yeah.
No. 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. Sorry. So yeah, an 18-year-old American tourist was arrested in Tokyo on Tuesday over an alleged arson in the capital, with police investigating further 6 incidents as well.
Oh my gosh. How long was his vacation? How did he have time to set all these fires?
Great question. So the man, who has been visiting Japan with his family since October 9th, so remember this article is from October 24th.
Okay, so he was there for
a long time, 3 weeks?
Yeah, 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah. So visiting with family since October 9th, was arrested by the Metropolitan Police Department on suspicion of setting a fire to a container used to collect recycling outside an apartment building in the Nihonbashi area of Tokyo on Monday at around 3 a.m. So he was caught by security camera. And he was dressed in all black. And yeah, they just caught him setting fire, like outside. There had been similar fires in 6 locations in nearby Chuo and Sumida wards over several days leading up to Monday, all involving things like trash bags being set on fire. The police are currently investigating the suspect's ties to these arson attacks. So the suspect, this 18-year-old person, he said that, or he told the police that he did not conduct these acts of arson. The suspect and his family had visited areas like the capital's Akihabara district and Tokyo Disney Resort, and he had been set to leave the country on Wednesday.
Wow.
Any thoughts? That's all the information we have so far.
Interesting.
Do you think guilty or not guilty?
Well, it's hard to say without seeing the surveillance footage, but maybe guilty. Close the borders.
Close the borders. No. So how did he get caught? He got caught on security footage, right?
Yeah.
But it said it was at 3 a.m. and he's dressed in all black.
That's true.
Like,
so it
can you even see someone's face?
Could be hard to tell. Usually security footage is really blurry.
Blurry, grainy, and also like, what purpose does this kid have to burn trash? You know what I mean? Unless you like, because like people, I've seen like more so in the countryside, people who like miss their trash day, right? Because Japan is very strict on like when you're supposed to take out your trash and what time you're supposed to take your trash out by and stuff. I've known a lot of people in the countryside just burn their trash because they're like,
really?
Like mendokusai, like I'm not going to deal with this. I haven't seen it so much in Tokyo, but like my theory, maybe people aren't going to like it. And I'm going to sound biased because, again, foreigners defending foreigners. I'm not saying this kid didn't do it. Maybe he like was playing with fire. He's 18. All 18-year-olds are stupid. Who knows? But I also think that there is, an arsonist somewhere around Tokyo, and this family just stayed in like the wrong Airbnb at the wrong time. Because it doesn't state they were staying in like a hotel or anything. It said apartment building. So I'm going to assume, again, just alleged assumption, thoughts, that they stayed in this Airbnb in kind of like a very suburban like neighborhood kind of. And there is an actual, arsonist somewhere in that same apartment building or nearby who was setting fires that was wearing all black. So, like, you can't tell if it's, like, who it actually is. But leave it up to, again, just a theory. Leave it up to people in the apartment building who are maybe sick of tourists in the area, do not, like, have any, like, I don't know, ties to, like, they just don't know how to, like, react with foreigners or, things like that. And so maybe there was just, like, some overall decision to place the blame on this foreign kid versus, like, someone in their building. But, because that happens sometimes, where, like, foreigners do get blamed for things, and usually it's a Japanese person, right? But people are sometimes in the wrong place at the wrong time. I'm not saying any of that is true. I'm just saying it's a possible theory. But I don't know.
Could be true.
Or this kid could also just be setting fires and like be insane. So
yeah. Like, who knows? I guess we'll keep an eye out for updates.
Yeah, I would like to see an update only because, like, what kind of person, I guess, like, where are you at mentally to be on vacation? Like, sure, there's like pyros,
setting dumpster fires.
Yeah, like people playing with fire and stuff, like at home or whatever. But like, what inclines you to be on vacation with your parents? It's not even like he's with friends or anything. Like with your parents to be like, I'm gonna burn this trash at 3 a.m. Like, for what? fireworks the same in the US and in Japan. Like, I don't know like what you know, what the motivation behind that was, if he is guilty. But
okay. Yeah. We got to see how this one unfolds.
Yeah, I want to see, but also I just love the very like clickbaity title. It was like setting fires. So I was like, "Oh, crap, is this guy like setting fires to homes or like, you know, I thought it was like something very big, but it just sounds like dumpster fires. A literal dumpster fire of a story." But
it was just a prediction.
Yeah, but if we see any updates on that one, I will get back.
Okay.
Because if he is guilty, then bad tourist. That's not good. Like, maybe don't do that. So that was kind of my last example I had of bad tourists in Japan. But after, you know, reading some things, I wanted to see if there's any taisaku, like any, not precautions, measures, thank you, towards helping solve the overtourism. I don't want to call it a problem, but like the overtourism issue, and maybe how Japanese people felt about it. Yeah. In your personal circle, do you know anyone who's kind of like over tourism? Or
well, I think, in my humble opinion, the problem is just that people are all going to the same places, because it's not the entire country that is suffering from over tourism. It's just mainly like Kyoto and Tokyo, but Kyoto is pretty bad. So I would guess that some of these measures would be to encourage people to travel to other places. But what are your findings about it?
So other than, you know, encouraging...
do you have a personal opinion?
A personal opinion on, like, over-tourism in general? I feel like it comes up in every episode, but did you know I'm from Hawaii? But, I've just had... And, well, you're from... You know, you went to school in New York as well. So we're both from places where, you know, we're not inexperienced to seeing tourists everywhere, you know? Like, whether it was back home or here. In my like personal and selfish opinion, like sometimes when I go out to places, basically backtracking. When I first moved to Osaka specifically, it was in 2022 where borders like were not open yet in Japan.
They opened
like
October
late,
2022.
So late. So I came like that summer. And so borders weren't open. But also it was 2 years after like the peak of COVID. So like things were like finally opening up, but except for the borders basically. So I had like a great 2 or 3 months where I could just experience everything, like every touristy thing in Osaka and like Kansai without people. And I'm not saying like without tourists, I'm saying like, literally without people. The streets were empty almost. It was crazy. And so I think I got really... My idea of like life in a touristy city like Osaka was a little like skewed from the start, because I was like, oh, this is like fun. Like, you know, there's so many things to do. And then once the borders opened up and this influx of tourists came in, it was kind of frustrating to want to go to certain places again. But now there's like lines around the corner for them. And that's not blaming tourists. You know, Japan is a great place to travel. And like, this is domestic tourists as well, not just overseas. And so, I'm not frustrated at tourists, because that's what traveling is, you know? Like, you go to places. I'm just like, it's kind of frustrating only because I don't think Japan was ever meant to hold this amount of people at this, like, at one time. Does that make sense? Like, geographically, like, it's just very small. Like, you know, it's very tiny. And so I can sense a lot of stress from like business owners too, just trying to accommodate to all of these people. And it's like, I'm sure, you know, it's more business and everything, but it's kind of like wild to see just how many people are here. But again, these are like the main touristy spots. So that was kind of like more so my selfish standpoint, was like, you know, when you're a resident in a touristy area, it can be really frustrating because the time it takes for you to do just daily life and daily tasks is extended because you have to like wait for traffic or lines and things like that.
Yeah, I think in Kyoto particularly. So I don't live in Kyoto, but I do have a good friend who lives in Kyoto, in the heart of Kyoto. But yeah, basically, like, because I mean, Kyoto has a subway, and there's like the JR train as well. But the primary transportation in Kyoto is going to be the bus, and buses are so packed. So people who are going to school, going to work, sometimes they can't even get on the bus because it's just so packed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had an article from Who Are You? Travel Voice. I think you also used this source.
Yeah.
Too. Yeah. So I found this article from them. Do you know what EY strategy and consulting is? Like what EY stands for? If you know, drop it below in the comments. I mean, I know it's one Google search away, but I think this company or this data research, so they wanted to do some research about just tourism in Japan recently. And they wanted to get insight from Japanese people, you know, like what are the like bad influences from over-tourism that you're experiencing. So just like what are the negative sides that you're from tourism that you're experiencing right now? And so the top 3, according to this survey, was violation against manners. Overcrowded public transportation and roads. Like Frankie just talked about. And the last one was overcrowded neighborhood to tourism attractions. So overcrowding, I guess, Yeah, so we did cover basically all of those things, those 3 things. Yeah, violation against manners, doing pull-ups at a shrine, public transportation, crowded buses. And overcrowded neighborhoods too. I don't experience this like in Osaka, but I assume Kyoto, right? Like the Gion district and everything is probably crowded. And we talked about, you know, that one lady who was like chasing after a Michael or a geisha and like taking like paparazzi photos of her and stuff. And so they also asked, you know, to follow up, how would you like improve this? Or like, what do you think we could do to improve the situation? So the highest demanded improvement by local residents was to improve tourist manners. So it just followed that first point. That was 61.6% answered to improve manners. The second one at 31.3% was improvement of public transportation. I feel like it was like such obvious correlation. And then the last one at 22.2%, they want to charge tax on tourists. Sorry, that was 24%. And the last one at 22% was they want to feel the reality of the economic benefits. So, I think obviously those are great solutions, but how can you improve?
How do you improve people's manners?
So this is one thing that Hawaiian Airlines does, actually. I don't know if they're going to change because they just joined with Alaska Airlines now. But basically, when you're on the flight to go to Hawaii, I think it's like an hour before you land or something. It's very recent too. I feel like they have a video showing you like basic manners and like how to treat, you know, wildlife in Hawaii. Because like you're not supposed to, you know, there's a lot of wildlife like turtles and seals and stuff that maybe come up on the beach to rest or sleep and stuff. And unfortunately, a lot of tourists get too close, like to a dangerous level, especially monk seals. They're dangerous, you know, or they'll like touch the animals and things. And so there's a video that's just on the plane that you watch about basic manners like that. I'm pretty sure, but I could be wrong. It's been a while. And if that doesn't exist, maybe that was an idea in my head that I thought should happen. But maybe, to improve tourist manners for Japan, maybe like Anna or Jal, like Japan Airlines could do some kind of like video, like or you have to read some kind of thing when you're in the airport, like when you're going through immigration and stuff. Like,
I think they are discussing something like that. I'm not sure how they're going to implement it. Like making people like watch or read something about basic manners. And then also, aren't they doing some kind of like, what is it, like Gesta? Like the US has ESTA. It's kind of like like a sort of visa.
Yeah.
Like you have to apply for it before you visit the country. So people are going to have to start applying for JESTA
Which I had
before they
no
visit
idea
Japan.
about. Yeah. But if you apply for JESTA, what does it do? Like background check? Like if it were to happen, was it a background check thing? Or was it like you have to read this disclaimer, which like probably no one would read, you know?
That I'm not sure.
Okay, yeah, just asking.
All I heard was JESTA.
Okay, not to put you on the spot. I just thought, yeah. So, I mean, great idea. Not sure how it would get implemented, but we'd love some suggestions as if we're going to change it. The other one was improvement of public transportation. I think this was in Kyoto. I did see they're adding more buses in Kyoto, or they're only doing like
once they go to tourist locations.
Yeah. So they're like tourist focused buses that, like Frankie said, they only go to certain locations, and then they skip all of the original stops because those can be used for local people.
Yeah, I don't remember if they implemented them already, but I would assume a lot of people don't know about it.
Yeah, especially
because the regular buses are still packed.
Yeah, they're still packed, and like I only knew of that because I saw it on Japanese news. Like the evening news, you know? So like I know tourists aren't watching that or like understanding it, you know? So
that's true.
I hope they have at least somewhere in Kyoto, if there's like a tourist information center. Like Asakusa has a tourist information center.
Yeah.
And so
I'm sure there's one.
I assume maybe there's going to be a brochure or something like, did you know? But I hope so. I hope it works out. And then the last one was like charging tax on tourists. So this is the kind of spicy one I wanted to get into.
That's a tricky one. Okay.
How do you feel? Because,
I mean, in theory, actually, I don't even know. But I remember like Himeji Castle, they were talking about maybe doing like 1,000 yen entry for residents and...
Like
yes, exactly.
Yeah.
For people who live here, like what?
Residents?
What do you call the native people? I was going to say nationalists. They're not
nationalists.
No. Locals
Local
and residents.
Local
residents, and then 4,000 yen entry, which is like $30 for tourists. But the problem is for the foreign residents, how do you know who is a resident and who's a tourist?
I think
because if somebody looks Japanese, then they're going to get the cheaper price. Well,
I think for residents, you probably have to show either a My Number card, a driver's license, a hokensho, or a residence card. Because even if you're like a foreigner with a zairyu card, a residence card, that shows you live here.
Yeah, so. But I think if they were to do that, like not just Himeji Castle, but any place that wants to charge more for tourists, which could be fine. But I think in that case, they need to ID everybody. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Not just the foreign-looking people.
Yeah, because then it comes down to like, what do you call it? Not sabetsu, but racial profiling. Yeah, exactly. So, actually, my take on it was, I think popular tourist destinations should have different pricing for
like discounts for locals.
Yeah, exactly. So that was what I was going to get into too, is like, yeah, for sure, especially places in Japan like temples or castles or whatever, you can I'm not going to say place a tax on tourists, but provide a discount for locals.
Yes.
And so Hawaii, bringing it up again, but like Hawaii actually has this system, and it's called a kamaina discount. And so basically because the whole, all of the islands of Hawaii are tourist attractions, let's be honest, unfortunately. And so, to control that, because there are certain like hikes or, the zoo or maybe the museum, like places like that local people also want to enjoy. And so they have like a standard, like a general admission for all of these places. But if you are, living in Hawaii and you're a resident, you can go to these places and ask for that kamaina discount. I feel like here's like a secret. Here's a hack. They don't want you to know. It's common knowledge, but like you can go and ask for that local discount, and you have to show your Hawaii. It has to be a Hawaii state ID or a Hawaii driver's license. And then so instead of paying the general admission, it's usually like 15% off or 10% off, depending on like the kind of business. So it's not like 1,000 yen versus 4,000 yen, but it is like a discount. And then we also have like a lot of military discount in Hawaii too. And sometimes the military discount is like higher than the local discount, which is like that's another story. But I think I'm more on like that side. So like, for example, Himeji Castle can have like a 1,500 yen entrance fee. But if you have, you know, a residence card or a Japanese, you know, ID, then you can go in for like 1,200 yen, 1,000 yen, like whatever, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it, having a discount
for locals
instead of saying like this is the tourist upcharge.
Yeah, especially like because it sounds like, you know, some places do upcharge for tourists, and like that sucks.
Like the English menu has more expensive prices.
Expensive prices, yeah, and so that's like shady. You know, that's not fair. And so I think it would go a lot smoother rather than being like, "Are you a tourist? Are you a tourist? Show me your passport." Versus like everyone just paying the same thing, and then if you're local, being like, "I'm local. Here's my ID. Give me the local price," and then you guys do it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, what a great solution!
Thank you so much.
We need to tell the prime minister the solution right now.
Who's the prime minister now? Because it's not. Is it Ishiba still? Like I feel like something recent in Japanese politics also happened that was pretty like not controversial, but something about the prime minister might have to change again. I'm not sure. That guy's always changing in and out.
It's the same party though, isn't it? I'm not sure.
I'm not gonna talk about it only because I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about it.
Sorry. Okay. I'll let you get into this one that you brought up.
Okay. I just found some article type thing just talking about Japan's international marketing budget, but like the tourism budget. So this fiscal year, they spent double the amount that they spent last year in anticipation.
Oh, okay.
In anticipation of the increasing number of tourists, and a portion of that, of course, was going to, you know, bringing people to more local areas. So that kind of ties into my job, I think, because I am a content creator. But I still post about like Osaka and Kyoto and Tokyo because that's where people are going. People want to have recommendations for those places too. But what I primarily post about is, you know, more like off the beaten path areas, areas you might not have heard of before. And
they're all really good. Check them out.
So because of this increase in the tourism budget, that also means more jobs for me.
Woo!
Yeah, because like the majority of my sponsored posts, because I don't really do a lot of stuff about like products. My sponsored posts are usually working with local tourism boards and how to improve like the experience, I guess. Because the main issue for people is like how to get there. Because a lot of people don't want to drive. And there are so many great places here that you just can't get to without a car.
That's so true.
So it's kind of like consulting and then also showing it visually because I make videos. So
Wonderful. Okay.
Yeah. And I think because we have a previous episode about over-tourism and bad tourists and all that stuff. I mean, it's going to be a common theme, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll probably do a part 3.
Yeah. But you had mentioned in that one that it seems like people are losing sight of why they want to visit Japan.
Yeah.
Like it's just trendy. So people are like, let's go to Japan. But then you ask like, okay, what do you want to do? What do you want to eat? And they're like, I don't know. I'm just going to go.
Or they say, Ichiran, go-karting, Shibuya Sky, Tokyo Tower, Shibuya Crossing.
Sensoji to do some yoga.
And like Kinkakuji. So. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I think it's all related to the oversaturation of, quote, Japan content. I think people are getting a little bit tired of seeing the same places, but that's also the stuff that goes viral.
Yeah, and like recently...
Because people will say like, oh, like nobody ever posts about these quieter areas. They do. It just doesn't get picked up by the algorithm sometimes.
Yeah, and if there's like not a lot of travel people who want to see like, you know, certain sites and stuff. One thing I've seen that is kind of like bleeding into my For You page is like skincare, like all the stuff you should buy in Japan. Not even the stuff you should, like the places you should go. It's like, here's what I bought in Japan. And like, guess what? All of those products in every single video I've seen are all the same too.
The same things. Yeah. The hair mask.
A lot of hair masks, a lot of skincare, a lot of like souvenir stuff, you know. So yeah.
But I think this oversaturation is also contributing to the bad tourists that we're seeing because people are trying to do the next wild and crazy thing to go viral, even if they are disrespecting the locals in their quest to go viral.
Yeah, and speaking of disrespecting locals in their quest to go viral,
so
an example?
I remember some incidents involving Japanese influencers, Japanese YouTubers. There's a term called meiwaku YouTuber.
What would you translate that to? Nuisance YouTuber, like troublesome YouTuber. Troublesome?
Yeah. I don't know if we have a word in English for it, but like a Logan Paul type.
Dumbasses. Yeah, like the Logan Pauls
Jake Paul types
of Japanese YouTubers,
who are just annoying people for views.
Yeah.
So I remember, I think it was either 2020 or 2021 when the pandemic was still at its height. There was a YouTuber called Hezuma Ryu, and he was arrested for...
Okay, well, at least he was arrested
at the supermarket because he was eating like a fish fillet or something before paying for it.
What?
So yeah, he was arrested and then... He was originally sentenced to 1.5 years.
Oh my god, that's good. Like,
but I don't know if he served that time. I think he was just on probation or something.
Yeah.
But apparently, like during his sentencing, he was working part-time at a ramen shop or something like that. And then he was like, "Oh, after all this, I'm just gonna be a YouTuber again because what else is there for me in this world besides YouTube?"
Oh man. What do you mean he got arrested or like got sentenced to 1 year for eating a fish fillet?
Before paying for it.
Okay, quick tangent, related though. Okay. In the US at least, it's super common to like, unless this is just my mom and she's like psychotic.
No, I did that when I was a kid too.
Right? Like, because like, especially sometimes you can't wait or whatever. You're in the grocery store and like, let's say there's a bag of chips. You're going to buy the chips, but like while you're shopping around, my mom is like notorious for doing that. like opening stuff and just eating it while she shops. But she's like, I'm going to pay for it.
But you can't do that here.
Of course not. And like, so I kind of, I don't think I tried that, but maybe I mentioned that to my partner and he was like, what? Like it was like I could have said I was like gonna sign my soul to the devil or something. It was like so shocking to him, but he was like, what? And I think when we went to the US, he saw my mom do that and he was like jaw on the floor, like shocked. And so, yeah, I believe like, okay, actually maybe you can go to prison in Japan for 1 year for doing that. But like 1 year? That's a little dramatic. Like,
yeah. Also, not related to this guy, but I remember I saw something on the news before about somebody was arrested because they were ordering like a M size at the Conbini for the coffee, but then when they went to the machine, they were getting like the larger one.
Ooh, scandalous.
But yeah, this
I
Hezuma...
do that all the time in the US. I would. When I was like a teenager and a punk, like, I'll just have a water. Like, can I have a cup for water or something? And then I'd like fill it up with Sprite at the soda fountain, you know. But
jail.
I know, actually.
Close the borders. Don't let her back in.
I'm not allowed back here. Not in Japan, back home. But yeah, that's gnarly. That's so dramatic.
Yeah.
That's
but
so
this
funny.
Hezuma Ryu guy seems... I mean, I haven't really watched a lot of his content, but it just seems like he's the type to just annoy people just to get views.
And like based of like off this one incident.
But he's popular.
Is he? Like I assume all his viewers are children, probably. Like Logan Paul, you know what I mean? Who think it's like funny or it's like super controversial.
Yeah, that's a good point, probably.
But if there's like something you're going to like cause up a stir about, like this is probably the least, I don't know, not dramatic, the least problematic. Like, yeah, you're eating food before you pay for it. Ooh, you know, like, don't do it. But also, there's worse things that you could do. Yeah.
One of the other things in the article, they were saying that he did was, like, in Amemura in Osaka. Because there's a lot of shops that are run by, like, African immigrants. So, like, he went into a shop and, like, tried to buy something or, like, haggle the price. And then he went to the police and he was like, oh, this black guy is, like... doing something, so he was trying to cause a stir.
Oh, so this is the same guy?
Yeah, the same
Okay,
guy.
yeah, no, F
so
that guy.
using
Never
like
mind.
those like trigger words
Yeah.
to get more views. So
that's
yeah,
messed
he
up.
seems like a crappy person.
Yeah, actually, never mind. I take that back. That was kind of awful of him to do. But on the topic of awful people, maybe even more awful than this guy. You know, get into Mr. Johnny here too.
Johnny Somali. I don't even know, like what was he doing? Did he steal a truck or something?
What didn't Johnny Somali do in Japan? I don't know. Like,
did he get punched when he was here, or was that just in Korea?
No. I think he got punched. I hope both. I don't know.
Everywhere he goes.
Everywhere he goes. So like, it was like not even so long ago, but like, what was he doing in Japan? So Johnny Somali is what, a a Twitch streamer or a Kick streamer? Probably Kick, because everyone on Kick is like low key kind of awful. But like, I've
never heard of Kick. I've only heard of.
It's like the more like every time I've heard of someone from Kick, they're all like this.
Oh, okay.
Like they're all just like awful, controversial, like doing live streams, but like taking advantage of like houseless people on the street, or like, I'll give you $5 if you do this, like kind of like awful stuff. And not all of them, but like, again, just the ones I've heard of. So Johnny Somali is like a streamer for, I don't know where, but he was in Japan just doing like a bunch of controversial, reckless stuff too. Like, I remember he was on the train yelling at Japanese people and like yelling at the guy across from him sitting on the train, asking him like how he feels about the bombing of Pearl Harbor. And he's like, why did you do this? I can't believe like Japanese people do this. You guys are all like terrible, or like just like threatening like strangers and bringing up like Pearl Harbor and stuff.
Oh my gosh.
I think. And then, or World War II stuff and all of that. And then one Japanese person, or I don't think they were Japanese actually, just someone who spoke English that was on the same train called him out on the stream. And I think was the spark to all of his like controversy.
Yeah.
And I think, you know how people like that, any attention is like good attention to them, kind of.
Yeah.
Like, so that obviously caused up a stir, but it also gave him a lot of like recognition and attention. And I think from that, he just kept wreaking havoc in Japan, specifically in Tokyo. Like, I think putting his camera down and like live streaming, I don't know, him shouting at people and stuff like that. And I think it got big enough to where someone on his stream just clocked him in the middle of the stream because they were like, oh, you're that guy. Like, and I think he's gotten arrested in Japan a couple of times.
Yeah.
And like finally has
I think
been
what
kicked
they
out.
arrested him for was trespassing, maybe.
Oh,
and
where?
then I don't remember. But when you get arrested, they can keep you for 23 days.
Yeah.
So I think they kept him for 23 days and then re-arrested him on another charge.
Of course.
And now I think is he banned?
I hope so. Like I would assume he's like banned or blacklisted from Japan for sure. But he's in South Korea now or recently. Like he's just in another
Wreaking
country
havoc
wreaking
there.
havoc again. Yeah. And I mean, this is just a generalization. Not all, you know, Japanese people are like this or Korean people are like this. But like a lot of Korean people are more confrontational than Japanese people. So like, watch out. I think like if he is still there, like causing trouble, I think it's gonna
He's already got punched there.
Yeah, it's
by
gonna
a
be
Korean guy.
very quick before someone over there is gonna like call him out on his BS, because, and I hope they do. I think they did.
I think they are.
Yeah, they are. I don't know.
Currently, they are.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah.
So don't give that guy any more attention then. He doesn't deserve any, because ugh. Meiwaku.
Meiwaku streamer.
Meiwaku streamer, so. Another, like, I wouldn't call this person a Meiwaku YouTuber, but like another example of kind of like bad tourism in Japan. Have you heard of Fidias before?
This is the guy who said you can ride the Shinkansen for free.
Yeah. So Fidias is a creator, like a YouTuber.
I've never seen any of his other stuff, so I don't know.
Like,
is he known for trying to piss people off for views?
I personally don't know. Everything I know about him is from the H3 podcast or the H3 show with Ethan Klein and stuff. And so I don't know like what kind of content he makes, but I heard about him from this incident. So this is kind of old news too, but he posted a video about how to ride the train for free. And basically it was stealing, like in terms of going into the train, hiding in the bathroom throughout the duration of the train ride, and then like sneaking out when the train made a stop.
Yeah.
And so he got caught because, well, one, he posted a video about it, but I think the attendants were like knocking on the door too. I'm not too sure. But
didn't he get caught while he was on the train?
Something like that. I haven't watched the video because at the time I was like too pissed off to like give it any attention, you know? But so he tried to make a video of this like hack to travel for free or like for cheap in Japan, but it was basically just him like committing a crime, like stealing almost. But there's like Logan Pauls and Johnny Somalis and who's that? The Japanese guy, the fish fillet man.
Oh, Hezuma Ryu.
Yeah,
or we can call him Fish Fillet-san.
Yeah, Fish Fillet-san, who do these kind of videos for like wrong forms of clout and attention and whatever. But I saw him do an interview after this at the H3 show, and like, yeah, it was wrong, and he expressed it was wrong. But like his persona overall, he just sounds kind of like aloof, like goofy. Not like I didn't know, because like obviously you should know you're an adult, like that's not okay. But he wasn't also like, well, it's not my fault, like you can do it. You know how like Logan Paul kind of really like pushed the situation aside. He was just kind of like, yeah, that was like really dumb of me. Oops, sorry. I won't go back there ever again. Sorry, Japanese people. So again, not defending him, not saying it's not wrong, but also, I don't know. If there was a way to take accountability, I mean, I guess, I don't know. I'm not saying he did it correct or anything. That wasn't the worst reaction. Yeah, it wasn't the worst reaction. That's what I want to say. It wasn't the worst. And I don't think, of all of the meiwaku creators in Japan, I don't think he is the worst guy. But yeah, that was still pretty bad. Like it pissed off a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, and then also, because I do ride the Shinkansen a lot for work, I did notice that there was more security on the Shinkansens after that.
Oh, damn.
Especially around the restroom areas.
Yeah, and like, obviously I'm not encouraging people to like do that, but that's just such a clear example of it takes one person to literally ruin it for everyone else.
Yeah,
like we don't
exactly
need that much security in front of the bathroom, you know? Yeah. Like, dang, okay. I didn't know that. That's kind of nuts.
Yeah. And then I had one more example of a meiwaku influencer creator. Yeah. So there was an incident with a few Japanese guys. I think they were 21.
Like 19.
19 and 15?
Super young. Yeah. Like young guys. And dumb. Yeah.
But they were like at a conveyor belt sushi place. It might have been Kurazushi.
Kurazushi or Sushiro.
One of those the big conveyor belt sushi places. But if you've ever been to one of those, you can order from the menu, but also they have things going around on the belt. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of stuff that is shared, like the soy sauce and the wasabi and stuff that's just on the table. Mm-hmm. So they were like licking stuff and then putting it back on the belt.
Yeah. They would like...
and posting about it.
Posting about it. Like, so for example, if a belt or if a plate of like tuna or whatever would come, I think they like would take it, like lick the top of it and then put it back on the belt and stuff.
Yeah, or like putting more wasabi under the fish. Or also just at their table, there's like a communal shoyu, like a soy sauce bottle. And I think they were like just drinking it like, like, and taking shots of the soy sauce and stuff. And then that's just like not sanitary. And posted it to social media. And this one made like national news. It wasn't like just a TikTok or like a net news thing. It was like on the news. These kids went to jail, I think, or they got caught. And it had a huge effect like worldwide too. I think the stock of Sushiro or Kurozushi like went way down. Yeah, that really sucked for them.
And now, again, like it takes one person to ruin everything. Now, if you go to conveyor belt sushis in Japan, you notice there's nothing on the belt anymore. It's only like order.
Sometimes like a picture of the thing.
Yeah. You can only order it from like the iPad for it to come to you directly. Nothing is like rotating on the belt anymore.
Yeah, and they called it sushi tero, sushi terrorism.
Yeah, I think there's worse forms of terrorism, but yeah, sushi tero.
Yeah, so they did get arrested, but I don't know if they like served
it was Kurazushi
time.
The 21-year-old definitely did have more consequence than the 15-year-old, right? Because One's an adult and one's a child. Not too sure. But when was this? This was also kind of like peak or like right after.
Maybe 2022?
I think you just said that. I'm so sorry. 2021? Was this only last year, 2023?
I feel like it was either late 2022 or maybe early 2023.
It feels so long ago, but again...
So not that long ago, within the past couple years.
Yeah, but if it happened in 2022, again, this was like... Japan was a little slower with the response to COVID too, but this was like post, you know, things going... Like just kind of going back to normal. Like people were still wearing masks everywhere in 2022. And so to like be able to eat at places like Conveyor Belt Sushi again in a post-COVID world, it was kind of like, ooh,
some
like
people were like hesitant about it anyway, so that just made it so much worse.
To have this happen, it just caused like more stir about like, you know, sanitation and everything like that. So yeah, I remember that was a throwback of that sushi tero. I haven't heard that in so long, but yeah.
So there you go. There's
it's like, oh sorry, go ahead.
There's meiwaku creators all
Yeah.
over. It's not just foreign tourists.
No, but this reminded
There's
me.
domestic ones too.
I like just remembered this, like of speaking of like licking stuff and putting it back. Remember when Ariana Grande licked that donut in the donut shop? You don't remember? This is like years ago, like way back in the day. But like there's like security footage of Ariana Grande and someone, I don't know, a friend or whatever.
Did they dare her to do it?
I think she was just being a freak. Like her music, bangers, love it. As a person, she's like kind of weird. Like, let's be honest. I don't know. Like, I'm gonna listen to her music and everything, but like, I don't know. She's all celebrities, like to an extent, to be that famous, you have to be kind of weird. You know what I mean? Like, but anyway.
You don't get properly socialized when you're that famous.
Something like that. Like, it takes like a certain level of like, I don't know, weirdness and narcissism to like be comfortable with that level of fame almost. Like, I don't know, like it's just weird. But like, so she's in the donut shop and she's like, can I get a whatever? And then like while they're in the back getting like whatever donut she wants or whatever, there's like donuts on display and she just like took one and licked it and put it back and then was like, hey, wasn't that so funny? To her friend. And it became this whole thing. So anyway, that just reminded me of like, you know, weirdos licking stuff and putting it back. It doesn't just stay with, you know, normal people and normal YouTubers. It extends to the celebrity community too, I guess. But anyway, that was all of the examples of like bad tourists or bad tourism we've had here, right? Recently, at least. We'll probably have some more in the next couple weeks or a few months.
Maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, but
maybe today.
You know, kind of going over from over tourism and stuff, we also wanted to talk about oversaturation of Japan and Japan content in general. I mean, you mentioned earlier you are a content creator, so have you just noticed a huge influx of like Japan content? You just said you did, but yeah.
Yeah, but most of it is coming from like people who are just visiting and sharing that kind of stuff. Like
true, very true. The community of foreigners living in Japan is. It's pretty small, like not tiny. There's a lot of foreigners living in Japan, obviously, but at least like within the TikTok community, I feel like we do share a lot of mutuals. Like that's how Frankie and I met, actually. We're both just foreigners living here. And so I feel like of all of those internet mutuals that I have of foreigners who've been living in Japan for a long time, I don't see any of them making videos of like, here's what you should never do in Japan. Or like, here's like... I don't know, the top 10 rude things you can do here in Japan. Or like here are like the 5 must-go places in Japan that like aren't related to a job like Frankie is doing, for example. And so, it does come from a lot of just tourists and people who are traveling here, like once, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, this could be helpful too, because somebody navigating here as a tourist could be more useful to other tourists than like somebody who's lived here for so long and knows how to get around.
Yeah. So. And
I'm not saying like don't watch their videos. Watch mine because they're better.
No.
I've been here for a long time. I know everything. I don't.
Yeah, I'm not
There's a market for all of it.
Yeah. And I'm not dunking on any of that. I'm just saying it's a lot. And
yes.
I think when you live here, based on where I live, a lot of that content just gets fed to me too because I'm like in Japan. So I think the algorithm is like, you're in Japan, like you want to see this, right?
Yeah.
And so I just see a lot of like videos about like what to do here and like what to buy here. And some of them are useful. I've learned a lot of great like skincare like tips and skincare products like through watching those videos. And the videos I actually do really appreciate is the ones about Disney. And like how to get like certain timed area passes and stuff for Disney. So I'm not saying they're like all like, not useful or whatever. I have a certain like niche for what I like to watch too, but it's a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, well, there's still a lot of people who want to visit here, but I think people are also getting tired of this type of content too. I mean,
well, I don't know. Are you?
Let us know in the comments. What, if anything, are you tired of seeing? Is it the like what Japan is living in the future stuff?
Like that, that is a great question.
Japan has the most respect in the world, but it's literally like a person in a wheelchair getting off a train on a ramp and the staff is helping them, but that's literally their job.
That's literally their job. And they're doing that because there's no wheelchair access anywhere. Like,
just filming strangers' faces. It's weird.
Yeah. I wanted to do this as a poll, but I kind of lost track of time. But what kind of things? Yeah, I think we should do it after this video. But like, what kind of things, if you are like outside of Japan, maybe interested in Japan and want to come here, what kind of things would you like to see, or do you care about? In preparation for your trip to Japan. But also, I want to ask people why, like, you want to come to Japan again. We already talked about it earlier, but like, just have a refresher almost, like think about it. Exactly. Why do you want to come here? And I'm not asking that in a demeaning way, like, why do you want to even come here? Like, I'm just curious because everyone has their reasons. And a big reason we hear a lot is I liked anime, and so I wanted to come here. But like, as a tourist, almost like I have a deep fear that a lot of people just see Japan on social media and they're like, it looks like a cool place. I have to go there or else I'm a loser because I didn't go to Japan on a trip. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like it's getting kind of culty in terms of like places you need to visit. But
you've never been to Japan?
Almost, yeah. Like I listen to other podcasts of like different like YouTubers and stuff who are not in relation to Japan or whatever, but they'll be like talking about a recent trip to Japan. And then the co-host or someone will be like, I've never been to Japan. And everyone is like, you've never been to Japan?
You're missing out.
Like, you're missing out. You gotta go. Oh my God. And I just want to know, like, what's that feel like? Are you for real? Like, because if that is, the case, wonderful. I'm so grateful to live in a place where people have that kind of reaction. And when I was in Hawaii, like, that's a lot of, when I say I'm from there, that's the reaction people have a lot too, is like, oh my God, you're so lucky. So I'm very thankful to be from that kind of place and to currently live in a place like Japan. But yeah, I kind of just want to get a feel one more time. Exactly why do people want to come to Japan? Is it because your friend was like, oh my God, you need to go. I can't believe you've never been there. Or is it because you actually have like a personal valid reason?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let us know.
Let us know. We're going to drop a survey soon. Yeah.
Yeah. So
that was a lot. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. This was probably a long episode.
Yeah.
We say at the end of every long episode.
Yeah. We'll wrap it up. I'm going to wrap it up. Sorry. I was very passionate about like tourists and things, but yeah. Anyway, that's all. Thank you so much for joining us today. Thanks for listening. It was a long one, but that's it. If you have any comments about weird, wacky stuff you've seen from tourists or from Japanese people recently, let us know. And again,
drop a comment or message us privately, email us, whatever.
Yeah, we have an email. And what is it, Frankie?
ConbiniCultPod@gmail.com.
Yeah, one more time.
ConbiniCultPod@gmail.com.
That's right. And so we will also be asking why you want to come here. But yeah, that's it.
Yep.
That's all I had. All right, thanks.
Okay.
We'll wrap it up.
Thank you. Bye.